Hello, everybody out there. I am your host, Jessica Koch, and we are back. This is another Profound Professionals. It is the interview series that has been with you, and you have been with us for 9 years. We are going on and reaching toward our 10-year anniversary. Can you believe it? Because I barely can. It is so wonderful. We have brought you over 1,000 industry experts that help improve your personal life or can help you grow your business. And today we also have an amazing guest. And today our guest is Meegan. And Meegan is a life leadership coach. She has over 20 years experience helping individuals, entrepreneurs, small businesses overcome personal and work obstacles. So if you're feeling stuck or things are going crazy in all the departments of your life and you really just need someone to help you untangle the knots, right? And get it all in a flow and organized, then I think Meegan just might be your person. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here. And Jessica, your energy sets the stage. I feel very at home.
Yay! So tell us, how did this I almost wanted to say we're nowhere near this time of year, but it made me think of the balled up twinkly lights, right? That you have to unwind at the different times of your life where you want twinkly lights out, we have lights on our house all year. We call them happy lights. And so we never take them down. It makes us happy to drive in the driveway. There's a timer and they just are beautiful. And so if someone has that tangled up ball of knots, what made you decide that you were going to help them sort through their personal challenges, their work obstacles, and this became your journey?
Amazing question. And one of my saddest days of the year is when we take our lights down. So Jessica, maybe I'll be leaving them up and take all
All
of
your lights.
down. I
Holiday.
love it. Yeah,
Yes.
in a nutshell, I actually spent my first 15 years as a mental health therapist. I lost my mom when I was younger. And I remember my parents brought me to a therapist thinking I could kind of talk about my journey. And I remember literally sitting in that room and knowing I was not going to talk to her. And at that moment, I made a decision that I would devote my life to helping children and families. And I was going to be relatable and real. And I was going to be an active listener where people were going to want to talk to me. And so I spent my first 15 years as a mental health therapist, director of wellness. I opened schools. I led things from the board to the parents, to curriculum, to kids, to mentoring therapists. And I felt like something was missing. It was almost like I could work with a client to a certain point, and then I felt a stop. So I decided to do a coaching program, which transformed my personal life, and then it transformed the work I get to do with clients. So it's much more exactly what you said. Instead of just thinking the lights have gone out, how do you get the lights back on? And what actionable, consistent steps can you do to really start living again and kind of find yourself again? Like, I know when my light is out personally, and I love more than anything creating that light again within and finding that purpose and passion.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I'm going to use the analogy of the light again, because if one bulb is out, you have to go back. You do have to check them all, right? You have to check to see what light is causing the fuse. And in the different stages of our lives, if our health is off track too badly, if we're not getting enough sleep or water, or if we have a relationship that's really off the rails, or we're just really lost in what our direction is and what our purpose here in the world is, any of those can really throw everything else off. So if you go and try to find the source of the cause, then all the other lights get a chance to light up. But you can lose a whole section of a strand if that one bulb is bad,
What I love about this is we didn't even plan this analogy, and we could leave this entire conversation based on the lights, but that was perfectly said, and I could relate to 1,000 aspects of that.
So tell me, what are the kinds of people most often drawn to seek you out and find you that you're supporting right now in your community?
Yeah, so I spent so much of my time working with children and families so that it almost feels like that's like my purpose and passion. I have a
Hmm.
daughter with ADHD. I have 4 children, and having my daughter and have her go through these challenges has completely transformed my eyes as a parent, the way I approach parenting, the way I think about school, the way I think about connection. And then on the side note, I started a coaching company called Scoop Coaching, and I pulled the 2 smartest, most amazing women that did not have my skills, had skills that I know that they're not my gifts. So we are Scoop as in 3 different areas of professionalism. My background's in organizational psychology, theirs is in marketing, directing in New York, and talent management. And we go
Hmm.
into businesses, and just like a client, we figure out what is going wrong. What do you want to have go better? Are your
Hmm.
leaders not inspired? Are you having a retention issue? Are you having people that just don't want to go to work? Are you having issues with motivation or results? So we go in and we do a business assessment, and then we create a professional plan based on the needs, which is leadership development and executive coaching.
And so you're really working more with than business owners who have a team of five or more, or larger than that. What's your range?
Yeah, so right now, I would say our specialization is in small businesses that are
Hmm.
scaling. So,
Hmm.
for example, we work probably with 5 state farms in Dallas, and they wanna scale.
Hmm.
They wanna open new offices, they wanna build
Hmm.
retention, they wanna build leaders from the ground up. They know how to crush it, but leadership
Hmm.
is a whole other tactic, right? It's a whole other word. So how do you empower from the ground up and scale with people that are not just managing, but are actually leading
Hmm.
with passion, purpose, and consistency? And then on the side, though, Jessica, I would say all 3 of us have a caseload of about 6 to 10, depending, individual clients. And those could
Hmm.
be someone who's coming to me, I have a wellness background. So they could be like, I want to get in shape, but I just am not feeling motivated. To
Hmm.
my parenting right now, I'm having a challenge with a child. And then my 2 counterparts, we do the same. It's really about the person, not the thing. So we love
Hmm.
clients who are just hungry for more and potential, purpose, and passion.
So you are working one-on-one with individual executive leaders, or
Yep.
possibly entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, and all of this is virtual. Now, do you have a group program for your virtual individual?
We do groups at any point. We're all located in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mhm.
However, I'm from Boston, one's from New York, so we travel quite
Mhm.
a bit, so we can do on-site. We've done a lot of half-day on-sites, retreats, and then we
Mhm.
can do anything virtual. Even like a woman the other day wanted to do a book club virtually. She wanted to take all her best friends from college. She hadn't seen them in 20 years. And we
Mhm.
just did 2 or 3 series on a topic that they picked. We got on a virtual call. They had their wine, they had their
Oh,
food.
that's
And so
nice.
it's almost kind of like a living room experience virtually. So we are
That's
really
cool.
open. For me, it's the client. Like if I feel connected to your cause, connected to what you're talking about, I really feel we are flexible and adaptable to what that looks like.
Mm.
I want to meet you where you are. I don't have a one shoe fits all. I want to really get to know you and figure out how we can push the envelope
Now,
and
are
create.
you only working with women, or are you working with women and men? It sounds like
Yeah,
everybody.
I would say a lot of our individual clients, I have 3 male executives privately right
Mhm.
now, and I have 4 females. And then I
Mhm.
would say the business owners we're working with are predominantly males.
Mm.
So it
Okay.
varies.
All right. And now where are they going to find you if they're thinking, well, maybe I want to have a call with Meegan and see what kinds of things we can do with either my personal group or me by myself, or maybe find out just when your next workshop is or what's going on with you.
I love it. So currently it's meeganwhelan.com, which is my website, and the 2
Hmm.
individuals are under my website since I started the company. We are revamping right now, and there will be a Scoop website that includes all 3 of us. And then my professional Instagram is Meegan_Whelan. So my name always gets challenges. Everyone says MEA. It's actually Meegan, and then Whelan is Whelan. Always clients will say, I had a hard time finding you. I switched the
Yeah.
E and the A. But yeah, I really think our biggest thing is just I love creating change. Like there's nothing that gives me more joy. So if you go on our website, we will do 30 minutes of just a complimentary call to see what you're about, what you need, and then we really tailor a plan that matches your
Mhm.
needs, whether it's a business, your family, individual. And we have assessments that we do. We have leadership topics, 7 pillars we talk about. We're
Mhm.
really about a la carte, fitting it to the person. So I would say that's what really I pride myself on, because I feel like every family is different, every individual, and so are business and leaders.
I love that. I love that. Is there anything else they should look for on your site, when they're there?
I would say on the bottom, you can just subscribe. You can tell me what you're up for. We will do complimentary calls. Say, hey, I'd love to get on a call, possibility call, and we'll just really talk to you and just find out more about you, where your pain points are. I think we really work with a lot of clients that just feel stuck. Back to the
Mhm.
lights example, like maybe every other light is on and they
Yeah.
want to get back to every light and they don't know where to
Mhm.
start. And so I would say the most thing that I consistently say is it doesn't have to be this monumental change. I say that in therapy, I say that in group presentations. I spoke at a school the other day. I consistently say that. Like, you just have to start somewhere. And
Mhm.
so I think the therapy background, I love breaking down goals and making them manageable, making them approachable, and being results driven. There's a lot of coaches out
Mhm.
there that talk about mindset, but I think the business side of me is, what do you want at the end? What is the result you want to dream for? And how do we get you there?
Yes, and I am a big action girl too.
Oh, good.
Matter
I
of
love
fact,
it.
when there was a moment in time, and I have great respect for this individual who started the movement on it, and love his TED talk and love all kinds of things about him. But at some point, it was just I was hearing it so much
Yeah,
that I was like, I did a talk title that says, "Okay, so you've lassoed your why. Now what? Action results,
exactly.
action steps to get stuff done." But since then, I have learned that the action steps do not happen, and we have
Yeah,
procrastinate and we will self-sabotage if we do not get our mindset and our why stuff straight. And I think those are two things, a why and your mindset, are
100%.
two things, because I know, I had a client today, and bless her heart, we set her all up to start receiving revenue, for her podcast. And
Mhm.
the first money came in. Ping, it
Yeah.
came in today. And so she forwards the email to me, and I open the email thinking I'm going to see, this is great. This was all panic and fear. She was like,
Yes.
and so I realized, oh wait, you don't have a systems process problem. We also have a, how are we thinking about this?
Yes.
How are we embracing success?
Yeah. Exactly, and I think you hit the nail on the head. The formula we usually use most is awareness plus action equals results and transformation, and
Mhm.
so I always feel like that awareness is the why. You
Yeah.
know, what is the bigger picture? I was a college athlete and I always use this, but I think everyone hopefully can relate to the story, even if you don't go to the gym. But everyone, New Year's resolutions, right? June,
Mhm.
January 3rd, I'm going to be at the gym. I'm doing this class. I hired a trainer. By
Mhm.
January 25th, there's less cars in the parking lot, right? And
The
so I
class is
always
suddenly not as full.
exactly, and so I get it, right? You start and stop
Mhm.
something because you don't have the momentum or the actual intentionality to it. But if there was a bigger
Mhm.
why, that if I did this, I would then live a life where I loved the way I felt in my clothes, or I had more
Mhm.
energy for my grandchild, or I
Mhm.
felt invigorated to start the momentum to do more. Maybe I'm gonna run a marathon or a half marathon, or maybe I'm gonna run a 3-mile race. I always
Mhm.
think it's the momentum, it's the why that gets you to do
Mhm.
the daily task consistently.
It does, but you also do have to make sure you've done the work internally to make sure there isn't a deeper reason that you're putting the brakes on when you get close to that success.
Yes.
So that's I think they're, like I said, two different things. Now that takes us right into tip zone. So why
Perfect.
don't you give everybody a tip for the day that they can do today that will make life better?
Yes. So I think as a therapist, when I said I felt limited, I feel like the client would leave my office and I was like, now what? I'm going to see you in a
Mhm.
week. I almost felt like I should be giving homework or something. I was like, this just doesn't feel
Mhm.
connected. I feel like I'm sending you out. You've had all this awareness and then there's no follow up. So I would
Mhm.
say my tip, one of my favorite, I'm a learner, and James Clear and his Atomic Habits. I literally read it. I've read it 3 times, and I
Mhm.
think not necessarily even it has to be about the 1%. It has to be about small, consistent steps that create a bigger
Mhm.
result and create intentionality. It don't get
Mhm.
stuck on the perfection, the long-term goal. We're never going to be ready. I remember having my first child and I was like, I'm never going to feel ready. This is always going to be scary.
Mhm.
So we're always going to be scared. But when we stay in our comfort zone, and we don't embrace the fear or work through the fear, we
Mhm.
stay complacent. We don't create the change. We don't create the
Mhm.
transformation. And the transformation does not have to be big. It's small, actionable steps that you do consistently to build the momentum, to build the change, to build the transformation. And
Mhm.
so I can give 1,000 examples, but that is truly something I've lived by. I think it breaks down the anxiety, the overwhelm, the fear, the imposter syndrome, the fear
Mhm.
that you're not good enough. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
this big monumental success. It's small steps that get you closer to the life you want to live and whatever that looks like.
A few years back, I had a community invite me in to do a talk, and they wanted to talk about fear, and so I did. They did. This is not what they expected, but I did a talk on the positive side of fear, and I went through everything that makes fear fabulous,
Oh,
and it was a lot of fun. The other thing that you talked about with your tip is taking small, really consistent steps. One of the other tricks, well, not tricks, just um,
cool. Tools.
life joys for me is I have developed multiple accountability partners.
Oh,
Some I talk to daily, some I talk to twice a week, some I talk to once a week. I have different people for different things,
mhm.
and so I have embraced myself an accountability partner. So if I were to fall off the mark or try to hide for a week, I would have at least 5 or 6 people tapping to find me to say what's going on. Because I am as consistent as they come with our calls and our goals and our things. So I've built myself a safety net for my safety nets, so that there's just no way for me to fall off. I
I
have too many
absolutely
love partners to
I
that
love that.
that
Well,
are holding me up.
yeah, and you think back to the gym or athletic example, but you
Mhm.
wonder why people hire trainers together. "I'll see you Tuesday at 8." You know the person standing there waiting for you. That is
Mhm.
going to help you get out of bed. That's gonna help you
Mhm.
drag yourself even though you're tired. That's the last thing you wanna do, but once you get done, there's a feeling of accomplishment and you can build on that.
Mhm.
And so
Well, the other thing you talked about was the negative O word. I took it out of
oh,
my vocabulary almost 9 years ago. There's a very positive O word, but we're not talking about that today. But there is a negative O word, and that's like when you feel like there's too many things on your plate. That's all I'll say about that.
I know
And
it.
what I started doing 9 years ago was meditating whenever I had that feeling in my stomach, that feeling you get when the plate gets super crowded. And I started to do this mental expansion meditation where I had a cup that was overflowing. Then I moved it to this beautiful punch bowl my grandmother gave me that's carnival glass. Then I moved it to a lake and then an ocean and then out into the universes. And the expansion includes all of the knowledge, resources, people, and money that you would need to actually handle all that you feel is given to you. So you're suddenly not alone in this meditation or this expansion because coming in, it are all of these resources, including people and, like I said, and knowledge and opportunities and money, everything you need to achieve all those things that are most necessary come to you. And doing that meditation made that really no longer be a part of my life. So,
Well, and Jessica, we could talk together all day. Do I have time to mention 2 quick tips that are, like, life
sure,
changing for me?
go
And
ahead.
and one comes right off of the O word, so I will not say the second letter.
Yeah.
Listen, I remember exactly what you're talking about with the cup. I remember it working with teens in San Francisco. I spent my 20s in California, and I remember having them I drew a picture of a balloon, and I had them write all the pressures, and I said, "What happens if you don't let air out of the balloon?" Right? That's
Mhm,
about your cup expanding, and so
mhm,
that is the best analogy ever. So the 2
mhm,
tips that I really talk to a lot of clients, and every CEO, I will even say, has that O word come up, and it's
mhm,
about consistent steps, but I did a ton of research in positive psychology, and I really believe you can change your mindset in terms of like the way that the neurotransmitters are connecting in your neural pathways. So I call it the 333. And I do believe you need some kind of cue, or you might forget. And the cue could be a notification in your phone. But this is what I do every day. I've done it probably for a year. So when you get up in the morning, which can be really hard for people, and you put your feet on the floor, that's the cue, right? Your feet land. You're like, oh God, here we go, another day. That at that point, just to yourself, three different things that you're grateful for. And everyone talks
Mm,
about gratitude journals, but this builds on two other things. And what I love is it's really forced me to look beyond the major big things that we say, our family, our friends, right, our job. Either other day was grateful that it wasn't raining. I was like, I'm grateful I can kind of see the sun coming up. And it's forced me to look beyond my normal things. The second
mm,
thing, the cue that I use, just because I do it every day, is I have coffee, right? So my second cue, first is the floor, second is the coffee. When I take my second, maybe second sip of coffee, I think of three things I'm looking forward to.
mm,
And there's a lot of research about if you're looking at the future, we talk about the present and mindfulness, but the future, if it's positive, it gets you excited. It gives you
mm,
that why of why you're going to that job, why you're
mm,
working so hard, why you're allowing your child to yell at you, which happened this morning. I was like, Meegan, just don't say anything. And
mm,
the three things that you look forward to give you the purpose of next. And then the last one is my shower. When I get in the shower, I force myself, this one's the hardest, three just affirmations about myself. Like, I am a good mom, I am a good coworker, and I love to travel, right?
mm,
Anything with the I. And the research says if you do those 333 for 7 weeks, you can already connect new neural pathways. So I just wanted to share that because that's something that you don't have to go to a therapist, you don't have to read a book, you just have it be incorporated into your daily practices.
I'm so excited that you told me this because so for years, since I met 26 plus years, I've been doing with my husband three things we love about each other. And we'll just randomly do that. And we started doing it with our kids, and we'll do it in the car when we're driving, and we'll do it whenever we're having moments of, whatever. But we regularly, I don't know if it's every day, but pretty close. Many times a week, we tell each other three things we love each other about each other. And one of the things it made us do is start to pay attention to the other person, of how they're showing up in the world. What are they saying? What are they doing? How do they look? Just all these different things that we're paying attention to more and looking forward to. I hadn't done that one. I really love that one. And that was the final one. So, the other one, I do that all the time, but I always make sure I say, because I adore me. I love me. And and you just need to say, I love about me,
Yes. Yes.
really claim that. You like to travel. That's not cutting it, Megan. You gotta
Yeah.
up the ante here.
Well, I was,
You
honest.
love the young girl that wants adventures and traveling experiences in your life,
Yes. Yes.
But that's why we were talking offline about how my assistants help me find local plays and events, and I have a local painting place that I go to. So we look at the times that I want to do those classes, and they help me schedule that into my life. So my virtual assistants don't just help me with work, they help me make sure that I'm having fun, and on my schedule is time
Mm,
for me and for family and for planning is huge.
I
That's a
love
whole
this.
other conversation. So
Well, Jessica, I'll do a redo. Ready? The vulnerability, I'm
yeah.
offering it. I love that I would hope most people in my life would say, I'm a connector, I am fun, and I always will be up for an adventure.
Yeah, so you definitely love how fun you are and how you connect amazing people, and no hoping, no hoping people would say. You love that Megan says that she is,
So that took a
because
lot. So my
it's
point is, and the only other tip I would say, that I tell everyone is it's just one, like when you talked about your future self, I think
mm,
that was the key that can be transformational. So
mhm,
literally writing a letter to yourself and in a year, what
mhm,
you want to be doing,
mhm,
how you want your life to feel, how you want your connections to feel, what you want your day to consist of. where you want to be traveling, who do you want to sit at your table. And if you dream big like that, then you connect to a version where it's possible. Yes, it's out of your
Mhm.
comfort zone. So I always say, write a letter to your future self in a year and really give yourself the absolute inspiration dream. And there's no limit to what you can
Mm,
accomplish.
mm-mm.
And then you are closer to actually believing it's a reality. And then you just do the little steps that lead you there.
Yeah, map the blueprint to get there. You got to take the action in between, otherwise your year will not have changed, and you need to get a copy of that puppy to your accountability partner.
I
So
love I love it. Accountability partners. I'm going to tomorrow increase those because you just gave
yeah,
me an idea and I probably don't do that enough.
I love doing that. All right. So something else we've done since show number one that I love and it's close to my heart. And I know
Yay.
it's close to yours too, because you're always typing and putting information in the comments and in the chats and all the places we're posting this. You're
Yes.
telling us about the causes that you care about. So we want to spread awareness. We want to inspire someone to give time, treasure, or talent to an amazing cause. So
Oh,
be a
I love
hero,
it.
hit that share button so that we can get the word out about the causes that could support individuals
You want me to put
or
it in
that
the
we can
chat?
help support. No, no, I'm talking to those people out there listening
Oh,
right
great.
now. But
Perfect.
you, I would love for you to share with us
Yes.
a cause that you care about.
Well, I could go on forever, but I really will just kind of wind it down. I have a big family. I'm from five, and I live in Charlotte with my brother. He has twins, and he married my college roommate. And a year ago, one of his 4-year-old twins was turning his head at school, and the teacher said, "Hey, I don't know what's going on. Brain tumor, 22% chance of survival." He is now in remission, which my family every day is celebrating. So, Caring Bridge, I don't want to cry in here, but yeah, Caring Bridge is a foundation that not only did my sister-in-law spend a year in the hospital with him literally every day, but my family will create a race, we will create things every year. And having a mother who passed away from cancer, the day, if there's any form of cure, will be the happiest day of my life. So I will truly donate, run every race possible for all forms of cancer. But Caring Bridge literally saved my brother and sister from just the emotional drain of having a child who is sick. And so,
Mm,
if there is anyone on here, they did a great job of finding a community of people that understood it. And so, I'm such a helper at heart and a connector. So I'm happy to connect you with them because they will give back for the rest of their lives because they know that feeling when they panicked and alone was the worst feeling ever. And then once they built the community, it was more manageable. And in my school journey for my whole life, I did a ton with the Ronald McDonald House. If you haven't heard of that, they do just
mhm,
incredible things for families. I've seen them just literally go into a neighborhood and take a grieving family and transform their experience, transform their grief, and take something that seems insurmountable to actually face and make it an experience where they work through it and they created that community support.
I love that. And something you said that stuck with me the most is I love the cause you shared and thank you for that. But that teacher who is paying attention. So if you're
Yeah.
ever out
Thank
there
you.
and you're
No.
teaching and you're the community leaders and you see something and you
Mhm.
don't want to, oh, I don't want to stir up anything. I don't want to scare anyone. I don't want to. No, don't just say it because it's better to check and be wrong than to not check and have been right.
Oh,
Because had she not raised her brave hand and said something,
I know.
this could be a different story.
Yeah, and working in schools most of my career, where I think there's so many people that are afraid to say the thing.
Hmm. And
Guess what?
she stood up and said the thing. And that all through your beautiful story, that is what I heard the hero of this story was.
Yeah, and I always tell my kids, I always say, "It's not what you say, it's how you say it." And she
Mhm,
came from compassion, she came from empathy,
mhm,
there was no judgment, there was, "Hey, this might be nothing, but I wanted to share." So they
mhm,
will devote amazing just gratitude to her forever, and
mhm,
thank you for bringing note to that because educators need some love. It's a hard job, a
mhm.
hard
It
role, but
is. It is. All right, we're not done typing yet. All of you out there watching and listening, put in the chat books that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business. Or if you're an author, put your book in there and put the link to buy it. Give us all the things, because when we hit share and with our communities and all these other nice people who are loving enough to be heroes and hit that share button, we'll be featuring you and your book too.
I
So,
love
Meegan, tell us about a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business. I already heard about the Atomic Habits. I actually did that book with a women's book club that I'm in,
oh,
and it was wonderful. It was a lot of fun.
I love it. I would say the two. So myself and a coworker were trained by Brene Brown, and we were trained by her Dare to Lead. So the book will always be true to my heart, just because the courage to go and be
Mhm.
vulnerable and go out of your comfort zone and actually sit in the muck. And then my
Mhm.
second one. So if you haven't read Dare to Lead or listened to her podcast, I just think it really gives you that nudge and maybe motivation to take the first step. And the second, which is one of my favorite books ever, is Essentialism. And
Mm.
I worked for a leader, and every quarter we had a great leadership team. She'd have us lead a leadership book, and then we would discuss it and say the parts that resonated. And Greg McCann, I might be butchering his last name, so if I said it wrong, I apologize, but he is brilliant. And it's basically looking at your life and how to get the noise out. And I always
Mhm.
think of the noise, right? The clutter, the things
Mhm.
that you do because you should do, not because you
Mhm.
want to do. And the
Mhm.
idea is, if you can get rid of the noise, get rid of the clutter, decide what's actually essential to your happiness, you're going to be closer to the why. You're going to
Mhm.
be able to make consistent habits. You're going to create new life pathways because you've gotten rid of all those things that you do. My husband, I'm not kidding, Jessica, he says I was a chronic yeser. And I have really worked on my wall, I have slow yes, hard no. And
Mhm.
I have learned how to make more intentional decisions that are best for me, best for everyone. Or half the time I was saying yes because I felt the pressure to please, rather than really thinking about what was best for myself, my family, my causes, my purpose. It's been a game changer. So that book really broke things down. There's fundamental skills. He actually shows you how to decide what's essential and what's not. It's a beautiful book. I've read it 3 times.
I don't think that I do very much I can't think of anything I do that I don't wanna do.
Yeah, see, you almost went through the Essentialism Already boot camp, and you're gonna read it, and you'll be like, "Check, I'm doing that."
Yeah, that's right.
I love it.
I always try to make sure anything that I've got my hands on or I'm touching or I'm doing
Mhm,
brings me huge amounts of joy. And a fascinating thing that when you live that way, when you have love and joy,
mhm.
and peace in your life, is you suddenly become open, I believe, to receive from the universe or the Holy
Yeah,
Spirit or whatever it is for you.
yeah.
Um, all this creativity and other great things that there just wasn't space for before. So
Mm,
if you're all full with the things that you shouldn't be doing or don't bring you love and joy, then there's no room for these other
yeah.
really cool, beautiful things. And that was the other reason I had to do the meditation. And people call me all the time and they say, "Oh my gosh, I'm feeling so," the O word. And
Yeah,
I'll say, "Oh my gosh, congratulations." And they're like, "What?"
yes, yes. You
And
voice your breaking
because well, because I started to do a prayer all the time where I was asking God to open the windows and doors of heaven and pour out blessings upon my family. And so when you ask for things, they start to come and they would come and they would come and then flow. And so I had to learn to expand in order to receive them all. Hence, I started the virtual assistant membership program and have 100 VAs that work for me, and for our clients. But
I'm gonna hire one so I can have planning support. Well, and so the only thing I
yeah.
will say, I have a very strong sense of faith. My brother and sister would say that that's what truly got them through. My sister-in-law works for Coke, and they've been unbelievable with their spirituality support and their organization. Only other thing I would say that I love with this book, Essentialism focuses on, is if you look at the brain research, and this is more my psychology side of what stress does to us, when you're
Mm,
in that fight or flight state, it's changing the oxygen in your brain, the prefrontal cortex. So you're not rational, right? And
mhm,
so even something little that was a game changer is, I remember rushing from meeting to meeting to meeting, like, I have to get on the Zoom. I'm in that fight or flight. And Greg suggests just a 3-minute buffer. Just create
mhm,
a 3-minute buffer. If you're driving somewhere, there's probably going to be traffic. Create a 10-minute buffer. And that
mhm.
concept of just putting a buffer lowered my stress,
I do
created
a
more
half hour.
Exactly. And so the power of spirituality, intentionality, the why in
Mhm.
combination with the research for brain and just how we work under stress has been a sandwich of just support for me in terms of transformation and just changing the way I live.
I do a half hour because it gives me space to, do things I need to do, like get water and all of those things. But it also gives me extra time that I can stand on the front porch and put my face in the sunshine and meditate. And, I can take 5 minutes to do that, or I can stretch, or I can give myself some other really wonderful gift, or I can call someone who's been on my heart and I've been thinking about, or something like that will come up. And so I always give myself 30 minutes so that, yeah,
Yeah.
that I have those spaces to also just be there. Like, I still have a 13-year-old. We have all the children, but the youngest is 13. And so when I pick her up from school, I make sure there's space that, she needs to talk to me about her day, or we need to go through this before, and sometimes I shut down for the rest of the day. I'm really working towards getting to 3 days a week, 4 hours a day.
I love
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 hours a day. I'm not there yet. But many Fridays I don't work at all, and many Monday, Fridays I don't work at all. But then I
it.
typically work a little longer on the other days. So,
Well,
um,
and the only quick thing I would
getting,
say as you sorry?
I said getting there.
Okay. The only thing I was gonna say, how you noticed the teacher, the thing I noticed in your story, and I'm a open book. I remember my friend saying, "You're authentic, it's what you see." So I'm always honest about my life and my journey. And I was in a corporate America job, director of wellness, where I was burning myself out to the ground in
Mhm,
the pandemic. I was being everything for everyone else, and my own kids were suffering. I was coming
mhm,
home, I could barely even stay awake. I remember
mhm,
lying awake and thinking, like, is this how I want to live? Is this how I want to show up for my children? I have nothing left to
mhm,
give. My tank is empty. And the only
mhm,
thing I will tell you that one of my favorite coaches in my whole life who just helped me so much said, "You have no space to dream anymore. You
mhm,
are on autopilot." And so when you even mentioned that half hour buffer right
mhm,
after you had mentioned the word expansion, to
mhm,
me, I was like, that is the connection because you're
mhm,
allowing mental and physical space to be with yourself and to dream. I was
mhm,
not dreaming, I was not creative. I had
mhm,
there were 7 lights out on my on my screen, right? I had 1 every 7. And so piecing
mhm,
that back together, I always think she said, "You don't have the dream to be creative. You don't have the space to be creative." And so if
mhm,
there's anything I can leave you with when you are burnt out or just running on 0 gas, it's hard to create the dream. It's hard to access the why.
mhm,
And even if you start with 15 minutes a day where you sit and just sit there with your coffee or your tea or and just think about what you really want, it's gonna start to
mhm,
come, Jessica, just how you mentioned. And I've seen so many clients transform their lives for just giving 15 minutes of space to really think and be
mhm,
alone. I have a client, my favorite friend, she's my client, most successful girl I know, so talented. She sits in her closet for 10 minutes in the dark by herself because her kids can't find her. And she just lies there and she just knows that no one can find her. And she thinks about, like, what do I really want this week? What do I really care about? And so it can be anything. It could be the car, it could be, at the gym, just 10 minutes of intentionally thinking what's best for you.
Well, I highly recommend if you have the time to, and you have sunshine, stick your
Oh,
face in the sunshine, put your
100%.
hands on your hips, do the superwoman pose, feel powerful, embrace the universe because you have access to it, past, present, and future. You have access to all of it. It's like plugging yourself into the ultimate Google.
And there's actually, Jessica, research with if you're breathing in nature, you're more likely to access your happy hormones. So even if
Mhm,
you're just out there breathing in and breathing out, it's better than
mhm,
being in the house. So even if it's for 5
mhm,
minutes walking the dog or getting to your
mhm.
car, take a few extra breaths. It actually creates brain changes.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. All right. Now, how about your books? You and I clearly could talk forever, but let's talk about the books you've written.
So listen, I will tell you, I have probably hundreds of pages that will be put together. I'm in the process of finding the right people. I want
Mhm,
it to be very true to me. I want it to be very true to my life. But
Mhm.
I will be really honest, as much as I talked about parenting and my nephew and my business, I have a daughter, first child. I have 4 kids. She's 14. The other one is 12 and twin 10-year-olds. And she has severe ADHD and it has completely rocked my world. I thought I knew everything. I thought I knew. I've, I've coached parents for years and I don't cry a lot and I've been brought to tears hundreds of times. 'Cause I'm like, I am failing at this. This is not what I expected. I am not connected with her. I'm not helping her. And my book will be about connecting with children and in today's generation. I truly
Mhm.
feel it is just so challenging with all the demands they have, all the demands we have, the role of women in your household. I could go on and on. So my book will be about relating to parents and saying it is hard. It will not always
Mhm.
feel like this. Relating that the way you were taught, like there is a way to pivot. There's a way to you haven't hit the dead end forever,
Mhm.
and there's a way to recalibrate and to connect, and it just is gonna take work and it's gonna take small steps. And I remember my
Mhm.
school professor that was my favorite, he said, and the fact I still remember this, "Your child is going to slam the door in your face over and over and over, and all you need to do is find a way to open the door." And I just remember thinking, "Oh, that's great." And then all of a sudden I'm parenting and I wasn't applying that. And so
Mhm.
my book will be about connection
Mhm.
and kind of deciding you can always turn things around and you can always create a new destination, whether that's a relationship, whether that's your business, whether that is your personal growth, you always can change the direction of where you're going. So
Mhm.
that's gonna be the themes. And Jessica, maybe when I hire your lovely person that's gonna come support, maybe actually we'll work together because it's been a work in progress for 3 years.
Yeah, and I'm working on some of my own books, so I know there is a process in it, whether you're publishing songs or you're writing books or you're building things, it's definitely a process. I think that's really beautiful. And I'll be, the we're gonna get comments about this, I'm a good person, so just say nice things about me. Give me the benefit of the doubt. But when we had six all at once. If you slam the door, you lost your door. So if you want to keep your door, you don't slam it because
Yes.
we take it off the hinges at our
Well, guess
house.
what? Then you and the professor, I will never forget if he is still it was David Hebert, he changed my life, and I remember he said, "I had 4 kids, and it worked for the 3, and the last one, I had no relationship with this child. I didn't
Mhm,
understand what the child did, I didn't understand how to talk to him," and I will
mhm,
never forget, and it still makes me emotional, is he said, "One day I just saw him drawing, and I signed up for this community art class, and I did it with him." And that
mhm,
changed my life because he
mhm,
met him where he was. And I think about that all the time. And I'm like, maybe I had this vision of how I would raise my first child. And maybe it was about me letting go of that vision and admitting like
mhm.
it didn't turn out the way I expected. But what's more important, I want the best relationship with her. I want her to say, I met her where I was, she met me where I am. And so I often think of that. And if I can help create any stepping stones of how to build that connection, how to get in the door, take the door off, but also more importantly, how to build a relationship where your child
Yeah,
can talk to you. Like,
yeah.
it could be about anything, just that open communication where they can say something and you can have a dialogue and you can build on the foundation of your trust.
The other thing I learned with having so many was I love the science of personality science and
Oh, yeah.
technology. And years ago, when my one of my adult children is was in her early 20s, I got a hold of this software, and I
Mhm.
had all my family do it and try to guess which everybody was and all of these things. And it was fascinating because since this little one was 2 years old, with her hand on her hip, she would stomp and say, "You can't parent all your children the same way." I mean, this is like she's brilliant. She's in a medical program right now. She's super smart.
Oh, my.
But I had no idea what that meant. I was a young mom back then, and I had no idea. Well, when she had done this, I had an avatar moment because it was the first time I actually saw her. See, I thought the right kind of relationship with her was one where we hugged all the time and said I love you all the time, and that she told me everything, and that I showered her with surprises as a child. She hated surprises, and she isn't a very physical contacty person either. She's got this whole other what love means and what a relationship means to her blueprint that I received when she did this, when she took this assessment. And I suddenly now she's much older, approaching her 30s, and we're very close. And we have a
Oh,
whole different communication because I was finally able to see her. And what's really cool about this particular tool, and I'll make sure we include it in the comments of our today's show, um, is it has words, but it also has just images and symbols. So children who can't read yet can
mhm,
use this tool so
mhm.
that parents can better connect to them. And so my 13-year-old now, I had her do it. She could read at the time, but I had her do both forms, had to try it both ways just to see.
Mhm.
Um, where she was. And she is, man, she is definitely a lover of a checklist, man. Give her a checklist. She's in heaven because she wants to check off the next thing. She wants to be early. She's like, she's it's all these things. And so I've been able to much more with intention
Yeah.
be able to meet her where she is and what she's interested in and do things a bit differently. So the first six just get an apology for all the therapy that they'll need. And the last one, I feel like we're doing a pretty darn good job.
The only other thing that you made me realize is another coaching company here in Charlotte, Lumo, I consult with, and they asked me to do kind of like just a highlight, a snapshot of a parenting article, like Dear Parent, where I could relate. And I
Mhm.
literally said, I feel like a chauffeur. I feel like I go through Chick-fil-A, all these things. And I was humorous about it. And at the end, I said, if there's one thing I would tell any parent to do, just ask curious questions, be aware of your tone,
Mhm.
and just act like you care so much. Instead of
Mhm.
saying, "How is your day?" "How are your classes? How are
Mhm.
your friends today? What's a good conversation that you had today? How was the sports tryout? What was the best part about your day?" Just take that question of "How is your day?" Because, right, we all say good, okay, right? If you just
Yeah, no,
ask.
no, mine is like the Spanish Inquisition. So I started this a long time ago with my daughter. We had a 30-minute drive home. So I would go through literally in my mind from the time she hung up her backpack to the morning meeting I would go through everything I knew that was in her schedule and asked her what was the thing she liked the most about that part of the day and what was the funniest thing that happened, and I would ask her about what happened at lunch, what about recess. I would do exactly what you're saying because um
But Jessica, to the point, my daughter literally said, "Mom, I don't wanna talk this much when I get in the car." And
yes.
I had to realize, this is my vision of being open, but I
Yeah.
have to pick and choose when she's open to answer those questions.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so, again, meeting your child where I pictured us, like, chatting, and all of her friends are gonna come over and share all these stories. I'm like, "Okay, I have a 5-minute window when she's in a good mood." But my point is meeting your child, but curiosity,
Mhm.
it just does
Mhm.
wonders with kids. Like,
It
actually
does.
being so excited to hear about their day does kind of allow the door to be maybe open an inch, and then you build on it.
Right. For sure, for sure. It has been so much fun having you on the
Yeah,
show today,
I love
Megan. Thank you so much for being a guest. I hope you've had a good time too.
I feel like I'm in my living room. I wish I was hanging out with you and we could talk for the rest of the night. No, such a pleasure, and I'm just so impressed with the people that you've worked with and the topics. It's really motivating and inspiring, and I feel lucky and grateful to be here.
Well, I'm so glad you're part of it. And if you're out there thinking, hey, wait, I'm an author of a book, I've inspired someone's personal life, I can help someone grow their business, I have great things to offer the world, well, reach out to us and our team, and we'll see about featuring you on the show as well. But before we say goodbye today, we are going to ask our beautiful guest to share a final thought, a piece of information or inspiration as we go today.
I would just say nothing is determined, nothing is final. There's always a different direction where you can be in charge of your life. You're driving the car, you're taking the wheel. and really just have faith that you can create the life you want. And it's just small
Mhm.
bits. And just believe in yourself and believe in those consistent habits, and transformation and small changes will occur.
I love that. If someone else has done it, why not you?
Right.
Why not? And
Exactly.
even if someone else hasn't done it, that's how they kept breaking the running record, right? Someone else
Right.
hadn't done it that fast yet, but if you really believe you can, well, maybe you can.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I'd
it-
only add,
yeah.
I was in LA one time and the plane changed their destination from New York really quickly, and it was a complete different experience, and that's how life is. Like, you at any
Mhm.
point make small changes that will change the outcome, will change your experience, and just believe in that and work through the fear, and that's when real change happens.
I love it. Change is a good thing. This has been a great
Exactly. Don't be
This
scared.
is this has been a great show. Well, fear has its positivity too, so just embrace it. And until our next show, I am your host, Jessica Koch. This has been another Profound Professionals. Be kind to yourself out there. Be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Take care.